Robotic caregivers could increase the independence of people with disabilities, improve quality of life, and provide support across activities of daily living. Tapo and his team at the Emprise Lab, is this correct, at Cornell are developing robots to do just that. Welcome, it's great to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Tell us about the work that you're doing, that your team is doing to improve the quality of people with mobility limitations.
So our lab is doing various projects, but all these projects can be broadly categorized into two categories. The first category is targeting general robotic caregiving and democratizing the field by lowering the barriers to entry. So what do I mean by this? Basically, this field of robotic caregiving is impactful and people realize it, but still there are few researchers in the world who work on it compared to, say, some other robotic fields. So using these projects that I'm this category of projects that are mostly in the we are trying to basically democratize this. Sparks enables roboticists to engage in a dialogue with these healthcare professionals and define or identify human caregiving problems, and then translate it into robotic caregiving problems by physically structuring the field itself. The other line of category of projects are mostly towards trying to go deep and solve a particular activity of daily living, where we are trying to see how robots can help people eat if they cannot eat themselves. And so there the problem is the robots are trying to eat different, pick up different kinds of food, as well as feed people, not only in an individual setting, but also in a social dining setting.
Wow, that's very exciting.
Yeah, thank you.
And how can assistive robots alleviate challenges that face those working in the care sector?
Generally, when we think about assistive robotics, the first thing we think about is, they generally improve the quality of life of patients. So one of the fundamental challenges of caregivers in this field is that caregivers have a lot of burden when they actually help people with disabilities. And so our goal is to use robots not to replace the caregivers, but to assist caregivers so that it alleviates caregiver burden, and the robots can do the tasks and assist caregivers to perform this while lowering the burden.
Wow, yeah, Japan is really in the need of your team. What are the main bottlenecks in developing and implementing robots in the care sector?
For a robot to help a person do this task, it's a very challenging problem because the robots need to come very close to the humans, but also make sure that when to do this task, they have to physically come in contact with the human body. So they need to be safe and comfortable, and so that the person feels comfortable, right? So there is a lot of technical challenge there.
How can we overcome those challenges?
So what we need to do is we need to involve these stakeholders from the beginning itself, so that people we already know what are the right problems to focus on, then how to design these solutions so that they can actually translate from the lab to the real world. So involving stakeholders is important. And secondly, I would say just having more and more researchers join this field, and that is why our projects of democratizing the field of robotic caregiving would hopefully play a role, because if more and more researchers come here, more smart brains come here, we can solve more technical challenges.
That sounds really impactful, yeah. And finally, what are you most excited about the future of caregiving, robotic caregiving?
I basically am excited because I see a lot of hope that it is actually going to be possible. I myself have seen over the years that initially we had these things, like there used to be isolated clusters of researchers, and they didn't used to talk to each other, and so there was progress, but to make meaningful progress, these different interdisciplinary groups need to talk to each other, and this is more researchers around the world are actually realizing it. And so there is a lot of focus on interdisciplinary research, which is the key to develop meaningful research or meaningful solutions for long-term caregiving in this field.
Thank you so much for being with us, and enjoy the rest of your conference.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. It was great.